that is in crisis can get the help, either VA or non-VA facilities, and the VA is going to cover those expenses. So that just came out, news release on Friday, so I am really glad about this. So, is there any questions that I can answer for anybody?
Any questions? I've got one. On the total veteran population at 849, I know that comes from the veterans analytical surveys.
Right, the VA.
How accurate is that for what is actually veterans in this county?
I really can't answer that because we have a lot of out-of-towners that come in. We have part-timers here in the county. So these numbers should reflect according to pretty close to the census. But I don't know if they're counting them here and there or, what I'm saying, but this is, according to the VA, what monies they are sending to Alleghany County according to their records. So that could be part-timers and it could be full-timers. And I've asked that very same question to be able to answer it, and nobody can give me the exact answer on that either.
I just know in the past that I've always heard a number that were right at 1,000 actual veterans, and I didn't know if that comes from the Register of Deeds. I don't know if it comes from you, a combination of both, or I just think this number is low.
I believe it's low as well. These numbers on here are for people that are receiving compensation and pension payment, vocational rehab payment, insurance and annuities, indemnities, and then medical care. Those are just the ones that the VA knows that they're sending checks to Alleghany County. So that I do believe these numbers are low because we do have many veterans in this county that are thankfully in good health and are not going through the school systems or anything else like that for vocational rehab. So, those veterans aren't necessarily being counted. These are just veterans that have reached out through the VA to receive assistance in one way or another.
John?
I agree with you, Mr. Chair, because if we have a young man that has spent 4 years in the military, he doesn't apply for VA benefits, has no, request for any funds, they've lost track of him. And I think that's where our 1,000 comes from.
I've always heard that veterans are 10% of this county's population. And I think with your explanation that this number, this 849 number, those are just veterans that are receiving some type of assistance.
Correct.
But you could be enrolled in the VA system and not receiving any type of benefits, and you wouldn't be counted in this number.
Correct. If we have a veteran that's in this county that's not receiving compensation or pension or not receiving educational benefits, say that they're just in the healthcare system, that's another head of the three-headed dog. So they're not going to show up on this tally. So these are just the number that are receiving compensation, pension, vocational rehab, insurances, that kind of stuff. So yes, these numbers are low compared to the number of veterans that we do have.
Thank you. Any other questions, follow-up?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
April Ham, EMS directors. No, I'm sorry, TDA report. I'm on the wrong pile.
Good morning. Just wanted to go over just a quick report. I know that I had left a copy of this in your boxes last week, but wanted to get that to you in your hand so you could get it a little earlier and have an opportunity to go over it. I would just go to the first page there of that fund balance being at $241,765. That's our audited fund balance. That's the money that is in adjacent to the figure that's down below of the $100,000 in long-range plan. That's a part of that equation, that number. When you go to the second quarter previous year, the occupancy tax was $54,195. In the same time frame this year, in this current second quarter cycle, it was $62,008, with a difference of $7,800. Excuse me. With the long-range plan fund set at $100,000. And that's funds that have just been set aside. It's part of the overall fund, but it's just set aside in regards to a long-range or larger project in the future. Going to Exhibit A, that's just our fund balance sheet. It's the one that April works up for us, and if you look at that real quick, it gives us the same number at the top of the audited fund balance of 241. The revenue for the first and second quarter was $129,000. And then if you go to our expenses so far at $43,243. Outstanding expenses that are still out, which is the obligated expenses just down below at $30,756. And then you can see over the long-range projection of what we put in that fund over the time period from 2017 to 2023, with a available balance of $197. And this is addressed, and this is a report that comes from the finance office. On Exhibit B is just our revenue stream for that period of time and where those revenues have come from. And then on Exhibit C, that would be our expense portion. And then Exhibit D is the actual grants that we had during that time frame, which we incurred one grant during that time frame, and that was to Alleghany Arts and Crafts. And that was for $832. That does not register on our expense piece yet because they have not been funded for that grant yet. It was in December, and that funding was set to come out in this quarter. So, any questions or on that particular piece of the
John,
document?
questions?
The only question that comes up is one that is just nagging in the back of my mind. Right now, you are, according to the budget for this year approved by the board, you are allocating over $24,000 to the Chamber of Economic Development. Then in October, you authorized a purchase of a computer for them. What are you getting for that $24,000?
Well, we have administrative response. They're currently doing our minutes, currently doing our follow-ups on our agendas. They're doing the tracking of our grant request and also the evaluation follow-ups on the grant request. So they're doing our administrative arm of what we need to have done based on not having those resources within the body of the board.
With $24,000, and then in October, you started paying them for the minutes
Correct.
that were done for nothing by Charlie Scott prior to this, and then you had a young lady, I believe, that, if I remember correct, Miss Brown,
Well,
she was doing the minutes for less than $100 a month. So we're looking at roughly $30,000. Wouldn't it pay to hire a part-time administrative assistant for the TDA so that they could dedicate all their time?
To your point, that's exactly what we're doing right now. The chamber is doing that segment, that arm of our work. So that's why we're paying the chamber for those resources and that
The
work.
chamber also has other responsibilities. This is an adjunct. If you had a part-time worker, that you were paying that same amount of money or close to it, they would be dedicating all their efforts towards this, not as a part-time.
Well, and to your point, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, the segmented time that they allot for what they do for us, the services they provide, are dedicated to the TDA. It's not in conjunction with, they dedicate that time, and then they're also marketing and doing marketing aspects of our county as well, and that's where some of that funding is coming from. Yep. No,
From the outside-
we have gone back and forth in that regard to look at that opportunity, but trying to create space and rental space for a place for that person to be. Now, some of that can be done at home, but we also want a contact place where people can come to. So that gave us a great opportunity to utilize the chamber and utilize their resources without having to create resources. So in essence, we look at it, we're saving money.
Right. You know, I have a fiduciary responsibility
Oh,
to
absolutely.
the taxpayers.
No, absolutely.
Taxpayers of Alleghany County.
Yeah.
And we have the BDC that a office is $175 a month. The only thing you have to provide is a telephone service. It would give a location where you can drop off things. And anyway.
And our thought process there.
There's
yeah.
valid arguments
Yep,
on
I
each
understand.
side.
No, and the corridor we looked at going in that direction was really centered more towards using resources we already currently have and who are already marketing the county as a good connective piece to be connected to. Yep.
Well, I look at 24,000, and then if they run an advertisement in our state magazine, you're paying for it. So there's paying for the minutes. What are we getting? It's just a question that arises in my mind. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle? Jimmy? Greg, any questions?
Who all can apply for this money?
It really kind of focuses a tremendous amount, and we try to really focus on the nonprofit impact that we can have in the county to keep those funds in the environment. But it's a broad scope of whatever activity and impact it has either directly or indirectly on tourism and overnight stays.
So if the fairgrounds needs some upkeep, we could apply for some money for it?
And we've already done some of that. I mean, last year, we helped replace the equipment in the concession stand. We've done some other things on maintenance and different things in those areas. But yes, sir, whether that's indirectly, we've helped produce the sign that's out front. All those things have had impact with the TDA.
Like the barn stables, like the horse stables. falling
Absolutely.
apart.
One of the things that we've been talking about greatly is the improvement and impact on the Emerson Black building and what we can do to help upgrade that building to the degree that would help with the restroom facilities, flooring, insulation, that type of thing.
Can a private organization apply for these? grants?
Absolutely, yep. If it has an impact on tourism and it has an impact on overnight stays.
I got.
Yes, sir.
Michelle?
I think I can probably help shed some light on that. I'm on the Fairgrounds Committee, and we'll be submitting a grant to the TDA concerning our upcoming Fried Apple Pie Festival.
It's already been submitted. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And also, we've talked about moving the horse stables from their location up near the barn and redoing that area. So those are kind of examples that the TDA can help.
Let me give you one example from an indirect impact that came from with the Historical Society. We helped assist put the new air conditioning system in the Historical Society so that, one, it's not a direct impact, but it's an indirect in the fact that it helps stabilize the content so that any tourism that's coming into the county is going to be affected by that AC unit in that by protecting the contents.
So the AC unit, was it put on a county building?
It was put, no, sir, it was a private building. Yep.
So the tax money from the TDA paid for the AC unit for a private building?
The Oxby tax money did, yes, sir. Not the county tax money, the Oxby tax.
Still tax money.
It
everybody
is,
look at
it is. But it's a little semantics in regards to some of that, in regards to how that is, because technically, we're only designated to conduct business with the Oxby tax.
Any other questions, comments?
Just one comment.
Go ahead, John.
Infrastructure is specifically authorized in the session law. So you can tap into that whenever it comes around. If it deals with tourism.
Any follow-up? Just for information, the TDA reports to us quarterly, one of the few organizations, but that was in the agreement that they would provide a
That's correct.
quarterly report, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure all the other board members appreciate it.
I mean, and Michelle, I mean, April would be first one to tell you, we have steadily seen an increase of our funds that continue to come in on the occupancy tax. And we're trying to be very prudent about how we're handling those funds in regards to what we're investing in going forward. A couple of the projects that we're currently working on that are much larger projects that counties all around us have been engaged in for a while are wayfinding signs and trying to engage in that. And then also, we've looked at a couple other projects that will have more impact on a bigger scale because of the funds that we have available.
Nothing else. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Under presentations to the board, David Spicer, you're up next.
Mr. Chairman and Board, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share some information with you. In our administration building here, as you've seen the carpet down, we do still need to adjust the door into the boardroom where the carpet is a little higher than the floor was before, but other than that, all those have been finished. The lighting that we had that warranted, those have been replaced, and all that's been done. We have still yet not received our generator. This is something that will be to come here hopefully really soon. I do know that Saturday is the planned time to install the transfer switch. So that should take place this coming Saturday. So that's during off hours, and that way there's no interruption because the power will have to be off to the building for a certain amount of time. So we'll have to make some arrangements with the fire alarm system and all of those things beforehand. And also with dispatch. So we'll take care of those things, and I have a generator sitting out here ready to go. All we got to do is plug and play. So we're ready to take care of that. Our transfer facility, for now both loaders are running. I know that both of them had went down at the same time a couple of weeks ago, but they are now up and going. The Doosan has been completely fixed and serviced. The cat loader, we've got the parts. The parts have been ordered. Hopefully will come in today. Not 100% sure of that, but the parts have been ordered, so those things will be taken care of in a timely fashion. It's still running. It's just there's a few parts on it that needs to be replaced. We did have some recycling materials this time, so our commingle, we have 5.13 tons. Our cardboard, we had 8.31 tons. Our scrap metal, we had 16.80 tons, which yielded $3,296.60. So that's money that came back to the county for that. It was that during the cold weather during Christmas, we only had one minor incident at the black building. I'd never seen it happen before, but one of the solder joints pushed apart. So, but that's been since fixed, and it's fine now. We did have a little bit of problem with the heat at Daymark. I hope that's been fixed and taken care of. It's running right now, so we've been good since the weekend, so it's okay. Still waiting on the grant for the compactor, but we're hoping that will be something that we will receive. And also for the Carton Council, I'm still waiting on that monies to come in. There should be $2,000 coming into the county from that. So those two grants are what we have out right now. We do have the contract on the black building in review. We found a few things that needed to be corrected, so that's went back to the contractor. So that should be coming back to us very shortly, and we'll have a contract then for the 90 South Main, fixed and signed and everything ready to go. So we should be on track for that. The courthouse, everything right now, we've still had a little problem with the heat. We've got parts ordered, still not here. Actually, one part came in, but it's not the correct part, so we reordered and it should be here shortly. But right now the heat's up going and everybody's warm in the courthouse. Animal control, this time we had a total of 51 calls, 99 hours, 687 miles driven. We assisted the Sheriff's Department 6 times. We had animals and livestock, and I say animals and livestock because we did have a potbelly pig chasing cows, so that...
Don't tell me it was down at Glade Creek.
Oh, yeah, it was Fred. So we've had 5 well checks. We've had 13 dogs and/or cats picked up and taken to the animal shelter. We've had 9 reports of animals running at large, and one of those being Fred. We had no attacks, no bites, no quarantines, but we did set 12 traps, and some of those 13 dogs that was picked up was animals that was yielded from the traps. That's... Didn't mean to get so loud. But that is all part of it. So several things going on. 99 hours again this time. So we're spending a lot of time on animal control. I think that's all of my report. I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
John?
My monthly question about the BDC.
Yes, sir. We talked about that this morning. I have not gotten a hold of the contractor as of yet today. I will get a hold of him and jog his memory about that. I was told it was scheduled, and I don't know how far out the schedule is, but I will jog his memory and talk to him about the BDC.
The other is the heat out at the black building.
Yes, sir.
Infrared heaters.
Yes, sir.
Have we got a plan on that? Now, since the black building is tourist-related, you could put in a request for funds to the TDA.
The
as I read
TDA,
it.
yes, sir. The TDA actually, we had a meeting out there sometime back talking about some improvements and things that we could do to the black building. So the TDA is working towards trying to allow us funds to make improvements with the heating system at the black building. That one instant at the black building was in the kitchen area, and the heat was on. It's electric heat, and it just couldn't overcome those temperatures. So, but anyway, we're working towards that. Yes, sir.
Have we applied for money from the TDA toward that?
It's my understanding that there was money applied through, Charlie Scott was working on that, and I'm not sure of the status of that, but that was something they was working on, and we had a meeting with a contractor out there to discuss that, and all that information was exchanged between Charlie Scott and the contractor.
They gone, can we follow up on that?
We can.
If I may, Mr. Chair, looking at the minutes that we were given just before the briefing, it does mention that they touched on that and they're continuing the improvements on the black building for the TDA request.
At all, John?
That's it.
Michelle? Timmy? Greg? Anything else? Thank you for the report. I'm glad the transfer facility's up and running.
It's going. Yes, sir, it's going.
Next would be Miss April Ham.
And I need to pass out a report.
Hey, ma'am.
Morning.
Morning.
You have your monthly finance report. Year-to-date revenue, $14,085,515. Year-to-date expenditures, $10,042,706. And of course, the approved budget is $18,412,892. The revenue represents 76% of the approved budget. The expenditures represent 55% of the approved budget, and we're 54% into the budget year. Bank balance as of today, $20,989,138.83. Bank balance a year ago, $14,345,498.57. And bank balance in 2021, $9,820,887.06. Our net financials year-to-date, taking into account the revenue and the expenditures I just reported, $4,042,809, and of course our audited fund balance of $9,067,926 as of fiscal year '22. Then you have below the reports from December and November. Do I have any questions on that report?
Questions?
Your second page is actually the local sales tax that we report every month. Year-to-date, $581,479.79. And then below, you have year-to-date last year as a comparison, $481,962.77. So we're about $100,000 ahead this year currently. And the last page I have for you this morning, we have split out the quarter-cent sales tax, the Article 46, that was approved, that started back in October. So in October, for October collections that we received last month, it was $37.36. What we received this month for November collections is $32,608.36. So I included that with this report, and I'll include that going forward so the board can see those funds.
Questions? Comments? Go ahead, Michael.
Just one thing for clarification, April. The 581,479.79, which is the current number for sales tax,
Yes.
it identifies, as you mentioned, about $100,000 over last year's. But that includes that 32.6.
No, that does not include that 32.6.
That's what the clarification is.
Yeah, I broke it out separate because it's actually two separate articles by Department of Revenue, general statutes, everything that governs that. So I've divided it out so you can see it clearly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the presentations to the board. The next is general business. Under general business, we'll have 4 votes, and then under consent agenda, we'll have 1 vote unless somebody wants to pull a certain item out for discussion. I'll go ahead right now with Randy Murphy.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, the last meeting, we was talking about the sign at the fairgrounds for advertising. And I guess the question was on cycle times, I guess, for the sign. Well, I've done a lot of driving up and down the road here lately to find out what would be the best. And the best me and Austin's came up with is a 6-second cycle time. Because at 45 to 50 coming towards Twin Oaks, you've only got about 8 seconds of viewing time on that. And if you do it quicker than that, you're not going to be able to read it. And then coming from Twin Oaks, you can't see it until you get about the Bledsoe Creek Road. Because if you're up towards where the old rock building is, or the old Holy Witness building is, you can't read it from there anyway. So your cycle times would be every 6 seconds. And you can put as many messages on that as you can. And, you know, your thought, or my thought, I guess, was if you live in that area, Twin Oaks and beyond, you pass, if you work here in Sparta, you're going to pass it 2 times a day, regardless. Probably sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. You're going to catch different messages depending on when you come through. It's not typically going to be the same message that you see every time you come through that area. So that's all I've got on that.
Questions, John?
None.
Bill? Greg? Jimmy? What is the cost?
It's going to be, whoever rents it, it's going to be $200 for a month. You'll be put on the first day of the month, and it'll come off the last day of the month. Regardless of when you come in and, you know, fill out the paperwork for it, it'll only go on the first and come off the last day of every month. That's the only way we can really keep track. If somebody comes in and pay on the 14th, it's hard to keep track that that's supposed to come off on the 14th. If we do it from the first to the last day of the month, we know to go in on the last day of the month and start taking some off or adding some on the first.
So your request today is exactly what?
Because we've never had a set fee for advertisement on that sign unless you're renting the facility, then of course we put whatever event's going on. But we've never had a set fee on how much it costs to advertise on that sign, and here lately I've had more calls on doing that.
And what will the exact fee be?
$200
$200
for a month, for 1 month.
For that 30-day, 31 days?
However many days of the month, yes.
You've, Michael, questions?
Just a couple. For planned events, it's easy to incorporate a 30-day period. What about those events that someone doesn't need a full month's worth of advertising? What if it pops up this week that someone wants to put something on there next week, or
Birthday or something.
whatever it may be?
Well, I mean, like if there's an event happening at the fairgrounds, or if it's a mudsling, for example, that's part of renting the facilities. That's automatically going to go on there, and it's going to go on there for an amount of time up until the event happens. That's going to be separate from this advertising with the sign. If I have a air conditioning business and I want to advertise my air conditioning business, it's going to go on there for a month because you're being charged for the $200 for that. But if there's an event happening at the fairgrounds, like the Fried Apple Pie Festival, it's going to stay on there for X amount of time, but it's figured in with that on renting the fairgrounds anyway.
I guess what I'm saying, just to think about, is we're considering and adding what I would call a monthly fee. But do we also need to look at a per day or a per week in addition to that? Because different things pop up at different times.
I mean, I would My suggestion would be to figure what that would be per day. You know, for the 200 for a month, figured it per day, and if they wanted to learn for 2 days or 3 days, you know, that's what their fee would be my suggestion.
But then your fee would be different based on the number of days in the month. But
Set a certain daily amount.
Anything else?
Week or so.
Any questions? I think, this is a new area for
It is.
us, and what we vote on today can always be tweaked a
Yeah.
little bit and changed, and I'm sure 6 months from now, there'll probably be some adjustments made.
Absolutely.
But I think for right now, what you're asking for is the approval.
Approval to, because like I said, I've had several newcomer business come in, just want to advertise, and, you know, we just never had this is what it is to advertise on that sign, even though the sign says advertise with us, and I guess that's when they call, but we've never had a set fee on this what it costs for that sign, other than, like I said, if you was renting the fairgrounds or having an event, then we put stuff on there automatically that went with the package.
Does this money go to the fairgrounds?
It would, fairgrounds account, yeah.
Any other questions? So you need a motion to approve $200 a month for the signage fee for the fairgrounds, the electronic board.
Electronic board, yes.
Need a motion and a second for his request.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise their hand. Votes 5-0, you've got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is April Ham on EMS Director's job description that we've talked about some.
You had in your packet the cleaned up version of the new proposed Emergency Medical Services Director job description. We did have a previous discussion about this. What you have in front of you, like I said, is the cleaned up version of it. We are going to have a change in the EMS Director position because Linda Edwards is going to be retiring pretty soon. This is part of that process. Any questions I can answer about the job description?
On questions?
I have none.
Michelle?
When is her retirement?
March 1st.
You need to go ahead and get it approved so you can advertise it.
You need to go ahead and advertise it, or that's the discussion that we have had, yes. Go ahead and get it out there.
Greg, questions? Tammy? So this is an item that we need to vote on. I need a motion and a second to approve
Second.
the job description as presented.
You have a motion and a second, Mr. Chair. I made a motion.
We have a
and,
motion and a
Ms. Luckman
second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise their hand. Thank you. 5-0. April Ham, just stay right there. You're up for
The next
transfer funds.
Next item I have, we're on the very end steps of transferring all monies from the RFP process that we went through back in the spring from Truist Bank to Fifth Third Bank. We're past that 90 days where the last checks were written out of Truist. I need to go ahead and clear out that bank account, and what we would like to do is set up a public fund savings account for that money. It is not an investment type fund of any type. It's just savings. We'll have 3% interest on those savings to start with. I will get notice if it goes up, if it goes down, if it's going to change. We'll have that notice. We can do transfers out of that fund twice a month for free, If some type of emergency come up and we've already had 2 transfers out that we needed, we just have to pay for a withdrawal fee. And I don't have that amount in front of me this morning. I do know it will be a fee, and I have to say Fifth Third has been real reasonable on anything that we've done with them so far. The other thing, that's part of the paperwork that you were given. The other part of the paperwork is we also need to change the board chair's signature on the signature cards with the bank, since we've had a change in commissioners and a change in the chair. That is just a backup in case some of us around who have signature approvals are not here and something needs to be approved, signed with the bank. That's the backup signature, or one of them.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second, yeah.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, April.
Thank you.
Rita Miller.
Finger.
Morning.
Morning.
I do have a motor vehicle appeal this month for the board to consider, and this will be, you will be acting as the Board of Equalization and Review. So no disrespect for our new members, but these will be for the 3 who signed the oath back when we had ENR, and you will do that for 2023 of this year. I will entertain any questions that you may have, or any questions you may have about the process.
Go ahead, John.
We had a discussion prior to the meeting coming into session. Please explain, for the benefit of the new commissioners, the North Carolina 2022 market sales median. How is that determined, ma'am?
So I've now got access to some information from Department of Transportation, and on some of the vehicles, I can go into the system, to the DOT system, and I'll put in the first 10 or 11 numbers and a VIN number, and it'll bring me back how many sales have occurred in North Carolina on that particular vehicle based on those VIN numbers. And on this particular vehicle, when I input the information, it brought back there were 75 sales in 2022 of this type vehicle, with a median adjusted price of $50,000. Now, some vehicles will have numerous sales. Some vehicles we're not going to have any sales in there. But this is just sales in the state of North Carolina in 2022.
TEC valuation guide. Would you explain that, please?
Sure. Tech Valuation Guide is the valuation company that all 100 counties use. And when you get into older vehicles and things, it's very accurate. But on new vehicles and camping trailers, recreational vehicles, they're very low. They're not market value. But when you're in the older vehicles, Tech is a reliable valuation. And then the RMV owner of opinion, of course, that's just the vehicle owner's opinion of their value. And we all have the motor vehicle appeal form, which was in your packet. They can take that to any dealer and get the dealer's opinion of value. Most of the time, the dealer will tell us where that came from, where it was Kelley Blue Book, NADA, or whatever valuation system that they would use. My typical recommendation to the board is usually in a median value. And on this one, I used the sales that had occurred in the state.
Any questions, Michelle? Greg? And your recommendation is for?
50,212.
You have a recommendation, this item needs to be voted on. I need a motion and a second.
Only from the 3 commissioners from 2022, correct?
Right.
Because we are the only ones that have signed.
Correct.
I will make a motion to approve the median sales of $50,212.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed?
Vote on it,
I
Bobby.
can't
They
vote.
can't vote on it.
They weren't in the Board of, or,
Okay. Got a 3-0. Next.
Next is a consent agenda. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
John?
What is our collection percentage at this time? Do you have that information?
Well, 89.93 as of when I ran the monthly reports on December the 31st.
89.93. Is this average, below average?
That is right in line with where we were last year.
Having no other questions, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
second.
Any questions about the consent agenda? Got a motion and second to approve as is. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
County manager comments? Michael?
I have a few this morning. The first one is identified on your agenda as the December building inspections report. Again, I would encourage you to look that over. The second item I have is dispatch. Dispatch is up and running. It's been, one I gather, it is a welcome change, and we continue to iron out the wrinkles that occur from time to time in a transition such as this, but positive note at this point. The third item is this Thursday at 10 o'clock, we will have a pre-construction meeting with our engineer and our contractor for 90 South Main. It will be at 90 South Main inside the meeting room, so it'll be a kickoff to that project. Next item is a reminder of the budget deadline for the upcoming cycle. It's February the 17th, closing. So I know that there have already been some letters sent out to that effect, but again, I wanted to make that formal announcement. Next item is our tipping fee structure that has been in place for as long as most can remember. We're looking at revamping and redoing that fee structure for the upcoming budget cycle. And we'll certainly, as we get into the budgeting process, talk more about it, but just as a small sample, for whatever the reason, the county has had a fee that revolves around yardage as opposed to tonnage. And every ton that goes out of our transfer station, we are charged per ton at our landfill that we take it to. So we're looking at changing that, to change it from a yardage fee to a tonnage fee. And we have had several internal meetings. We've had now one meeting with 3 of our biggest haulers, which includes the town, M&J, and Alleghany Garbage, to introduce them to the concept. And I think that it is something that we need to look at, we need to address, and we need to implement. So as the upcoming budget gets into more discussion, we'll follow up with that, but just so you know, that's on the radar. Right now, I think I've asked, but January is one of those months that have 5 Mondays in it, and historically, although not as of late for various reasons, the town and county have met on the 5th Monday of months that have 5 in it. I think it would be a good opportunity for us to meet, for the new commissioners as well, to hear some things about the town, and they hear some things about the county, and we reach out to the town. I think we're still awaiting a proper response, but I do want to just tag that, pencil it in right now for the 30th at 6 o'clock. And I would propose, if that meeting occurs, that we host that meeting. The next one has also been requested by the school board to meet. And the first meeting date for that was thrown out, was actually the 30th also, which just can't happen with both. So what I have initiated back was an opportunity on the 6th of February, which is your regular meeting night, to incorporate a joint meeting into that meeting. And hopefully that will pan out as well. But also put that on your, pencil that in. The last thing I have is a meeting or so ago, we talked about getting an RFQ out for the architects and engineers for the pool. And that actually went out this morning. So that RFQ is out. It's set to be back, I believe, the 13th of February, if I'm thinking correctly how I wrote it. But at least that is out. We'll see what kind of interest is out there, and then we'll follow up with that accordingly. But that is, that's all the information I have this morning, Mr. Chairman.
That it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, county commissioners' comments, John?
I'd just like to comment that the recent cold snap put an extra workload on our maintenance personnel. As alluded to with a break up at the Black Building, seemed that it went everywhere with frozen well heads and everything else. But compliments to the maintenance staff for getting on it, keeping up with it. It's those little things that the public does not see, but they're out in the weather whenever it's cold, wet, and rainy, and getting the job done. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's it.
Michelle?
Yes, being on the Social Services Board, I just wanted to bring a couple of figures that were alarming to me to the public's attention. And this has nothing to do with our county in particular. It's just a shame that the federal and state government can't run as efficiently as Carter runs his office. But, normally, food nutrition, which is better known as food stamps, over a year's period will pay out around $2 million in assistance. In the last 6 months, thanks to the federal and state government, our county has paid out more than $3.6 million in food assistance. That is alarming to me. And most of it has to do with COVID monies that are coming in from our state government. So, that is not a good trend. Also, we have 41 children in foster care right now, which alarms me. I don't like that trend either, but I feel like it's my job to bring it to your attention as the public.
Thank you. Greg?
One thing I got to say, I met with the library January the 4th. They'd like to have a blue library sign at the courthouse up there where it says hospital. I want to put the sign up there, and I told them if they'd get the sign, it wouldn't be no problem for getting it put up.
Thank you. Me? On the sign, I think that we've talked about that before, and we've approached DOT about it.
Sometimes you got to do something and ask for forgiveness.
I think that, Drew, you've talked to somebody at DOT. What did you find out? It's something we need to work on. Maybe there's some other type of signage we can put in a location.
We'll get a post and put it up there.
We can look and see what we can do with that. My comments were, I think, just getting through this cold weather that we all did. Now we're enjoying a nice muddy mess out there, and we'll get through that. But I just want to comment on, I was making my third trip to the dump, I guess. I go twice. I don't even know where all the trash comes from at my house, but while I was there, some of the guys are trying to eat their lunch, and we had a line of cars. So next thing I know, he's in the loader eating his lunch with one hand and driving out to the facility to try to clean out the where people could dump their trash. And my hat's off to them. They don't even get a chance to, most of the time, just to sit down for 30 minutes and eat a sandwich or something for them. But I think they do a great job. The transfer facility looks the best it's looked in years. There's not a lot of trash laying around, and I just wanted to say thank you to them. And I know the maintenance people had it rough through the cold weather, but that's all I've got. We're gonna work on those dates for meetings and times, and you'll let us know. If there's no other comments, Heather, you got anything to say?
The fish fry on Friday night at the VFW was delicious.
I missed it. Anything else, Drew? Our thoughts go out to you and your family. With that being said, I'll call this meeting adjourned.